Yoon Suk-yeol administration will be officially launched next week. The Presidential Transition Committee completes laying out the blueprint for the incoming government. More signs of renewed activity at the Punggye-ri Test Site. Some experts believe work carried out now could be for long-term nuclear testing. Fighting at the steel plant in Mariupol continues. The UN chief tells the UNSC a third operation is underway to help evacuate civilians. Hello, we'll be wrapping up the week well. I'm Daniel Che here to bring the latest. Let's begin with our top story. Next Tuesday, the inauguration ceremony will be held for Yoon Suk-yeol. The incoming president has been keeping busy as he continues to bolster ties with South Korea's key partners. Yoon Jung-min starts us off.
President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol spoke on the phone on Friday with Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau about cooperation between the two countries. They discussed expanding cooperation in high technology, energy, health, the climate, and supply chain issues. They also agreed to work together on international roles when it comes to the North Korean nuclear issue. In the morning, President-elect Yoon met with the Indian ambassador to Seoul, Sripriya Ranganathan, and relayed his gratitude to Prime Minister Modi, who sent his congratulations soon after Yoon was elected. He stressed the importance of their strategic cooperation as key countries in the Indo-Pacific region and said he hopes the Indian government will support South Korea in building deep cooperation with the working groups of the Quad. He said he looks forward to India's role on the North Korea issue as a non-permanent member of the UN Security Council. On Friday, the Presidential Transition Committee wrapped up its 50-day task of drafting a blueprint for the incoming government. The committee was launched just 8 days after the March 9th presidential election and unveiled the Yoon administration's 110 policy goals this week.
여러분이 함께 애써 주시는 이런 가운데 저는 새 정부는 제가 부족함이 많지만 여러분의 도움으로 잘 국정이 운영될 것이라고 저는 확신합니다.
On the same day, Yoon and his nominees for cabinet posts dealing with security visited a National Risk Management Center newly built in Yongsan. There, he presided over a security meeting in view of the possibility that North Korea could conduct a nuclear test or additional missile tests in the near future. Yoon Jung-min, Arirang News.
Staying with the inauguration ceremony, high-level foreign dignitaries will be there, including the husband of the U.S. VP and one of Chinese President Xi Jinping's closest aides. Lee Jae-myung provides a glimpse of what to expect.
President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol is expected to be busy with diplomacy talks on the day he's inaugurated on May 10th, meeting high-level guests from South Korea's key partners. From Seoul's closest ally, the U.S., the country's first second gentleman, lawyer Douglas Emhoff, who's the husband of Vice President Kamala Harris, has been chosen by President Joe Biden to lead the delegation. From major trade partner China, Vice President Wang Qishan, one of the closest aides to Chinese President Xi Jinping, an unprecedented move.
Beijing had usually sent deputy prime minister level delegates. But this time, there will also be the vice president who is considered President Xi Jinping's right-hand man. It could be seen as a gesture from China to strengthen its future ties with South Korea.
Japan is yet to announce its delegate to the ceremony, but is expected to send a cabinet-level official. Other high-level guests include Singaporean President Halima Yacob and former Japanese Prime Minister Yukio Hatoyama, who make up a total of 300 foreign dignitaries. But there will be no delegation sent from Russia, with only its ambassador to South Korea due to attend. The Inauguration Preparatory Committee did not invite any big names from the entertainment sector, with BTS having already been ruled out to highlight the importance of ordinary people. And for Yoon to get closer to the people literally, an area of the stage will extend out into the crowd. In line with the other theme of national unity, for the first time ever, 3 former prisoners captured by North Korea during the Korean War have been invited too. Also, for the first time, there'll be no motorcade to the presidential Blue House, as President Lee Jae-myung will be heading to his new presidential office set up in Yongsan, marking the start of the Yongsan presidency. 이경은, Arirang News.
More presidential secretaries are named with the incoming government set to take office. With 20 new names confirmed, only a couple of positions are left to be filled. Kim Do-yeon has the details.
With less than a week until his inauguration, President-elect Yoon Suk-yeol has announced additional secretaries, including those in diplomacy and national security, to support his key advisors. The four under First Deputy National Security Advisor Kim Tae-hyo will include Im Sang-bum and Lee Moon-hee, both foreign ministry officials responsible for security strategy and diplomacy, respectively. Baek Tae-hyun, a unification ministry official, will handle unification policy, while Wang Yun-jong, a professor at Dongguk Women's University, will be in charge of economic security policy. Secretaries under Second Deputy National Security Advisor Shin In-ho were also announced. Im Gi-hun, a defense ministry official, was picked to handle defense policy, and Kwon Young-ho, an army official, to head the National Crisis Management Center. For Yoon Ho-jun, a National Intelligence Service official chosen to deal with the country's cybersecurity policy, all personal information is classified except for his name. Two names were also announced for his communications team, including former reporter Kang Hoon for Chief Public Relations Secretary for Government Affairs, as well as Kim Young-tae to oversee the press room of the top office. A total of 20 names were included for this second round of secretary-level appointments. With the 19 names announced on Thursday already, this almost completes the Yoon administration's top office, which consists of only 5 senior secretaries and 2 officers, those of the president's chief of staff and the national security advisor. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The White House says President Biden will reaffirm his country's commitment to defending Seoul and Tokyo. The commander-in-chief is scheduled to meet South Korea's incoming president. Also, the U.S. Senate confirmed a new ambassador to Seoul, a post that's been vacant for over a year. Kim Da-mi fills us in.
U.S. President Joe Biden will reaffirm Washington's commitment to the defense of South Korea and Japan during a visit to the two countries later this month. White House spokesperson Psaki said in a briefing on Thursday that U.S. commitments, including on extended deterrence, remain ironclad. Biden will sit down for talks with the leaders of South Korea and Japan to discuss their common challenges and tasks, among them strengthening security alliances and coping with the pandemic. Pointing out Pyongyang's continuous activities have caused instability in the region, Psaki added North Korea issues will also be on the agenda. In fact, U.S. Defense Chief Lloyd Austin reaffirmed U.S. commitment to defending Seoul using the full range of U.S. military capabilities, including extended deterrence. During Austin's phone call with South Korea's Defense Minister Seok on Thursday, the two sides reviewed the North's recent flurry of missile activity and vowed to closely cooperate to enhance their combined defense posture. Also on Thursday, the U.S. Senate unanimously approved the nomination of Philip Goldberg as the new ambassador to South Korea. He is expected to be officially appointed by President Joe Biden soon and kick off his career in Seoul with Biden's upcoming visit to South Korea. Goldberg, a career ambassador, is currently serving as ambassador to Colombia and also served as a coordinator for implementation of the UN Security Council resolution on North Korea during the Obama administration. Welcoming the nomination, an official from South Korea's Foreign Ministry said Friday that Seoul will actively provide support so that the new ambassador can contribute to strengthening the South Korea-U.S. alliance. Kim Da-mi, Arirang News.
There are continued signs of renewed activity at North Korea's nuclear test site at Punggye-ri. The latest is a cargo truck outside the site's command center. Some experts believe the work underway could be for longer-term nuclear testing. Han Sung-woo provides a deeper analysis.
Satellite images taken on May 4th showed a cargo truck parked near the headquarters of North Korea's Punggye-ri Nuclear Test Site. That's according to 38 North, which reported on Thursday that it's the first time such a truck's been detected in front of the command center since Tunnel Number 3's refurbishment began, although vehicles have been observed moving between the tunnel and the test site's southern support area since at least January. The command center is a camouflaged, secure compound consisting of a 2-story headquarters building and a 1-story building with a bright blue roof. The facility is connected to the main road leading to the tunnel area by a bridge that was damaged by floods in 2020 and only recently repaired, allowing vehicles to pass through. 38 North had reported last week of signs that excavation work at tunnel number 3 was either underway or complete, and the presence of 8 new structures standing near the complex. The publication believes the regime's investment in support infrastructure suggests long-term plans, not merely preparations for a single nuclear test. North Korea had destroyed the Punggye-ri Test Site in 2018 to show its willingness to denuclearize as it pursued dialogue with the U.S. Despite the regime claiming it was completely demolished, analysts at the time said they could potentially be restored. Hangzhou, Arirang News.
Back here in the nation, the Lee Jae-myung, who came up short in the latest presidential race, is going to run for parliament in the by-elections on June 1st. The Democratic Party offered to put him on the ticket for a vacant seat representing Gyeonggi district in Incheon. He previously served as governor of Gyeonggi province. Meanwhile, President-elect Yoon's transition committee chief Cheol-soo is set to run for Bundang-gu district in Seongnam for the People Power Party. He vowed to ensure victory in the capital region. The nation's COVID-19 tally stood at under 30,000 for the first time in several days. New cases came to 26,714, down around 15,500 from Thursday. The government's COVID-19 task force team says the overall decline is likely to continue. Some experts forecast the tally to fall below 10,000 a day a week from now. For Friday, there were 48 more deaths. The number of critically ill patients declined to 423. The COVID-19 pills now available in the country are effective in treating both the Omicron variant and Stealth Omicron reportedly. According to a study released by the National Institute of Health on Friday, the drugs do still work, which would appear to support findings by Pfizer and U.S. university researchers. The South Korean Institute also found these variants can be treated with remdesivir, an antiviral that's injected. The NIH will continue to evaluate the effectiveness of the available treatments as new variants emerge. The 2022 Asian Games, originally set to take place in Hangzhou, China in September, is postponed indefinitely. The Olympic Council of Asia made the announcement on Friday, but did not provide an exact reason. The decision comes amid China's efforts to tackle its largest COVID-19 outbreak since the early days of the pandemic. Hangzhou is less than 200 kilometers from Shanghai, which has recently been under heavy lockdown. Ukraine's leader voiced serious concerns over Russia's ongoing attack on a steel plant in Mariupol. A humanitarian corridor was opened on Thursday with the assistance of the UN to help civilians escape. Another one is expected to be open on Friday. Choi Min-jung has the latest.
Attacks continue on the Azovstal steel plant in the Ukrainian port city of Mariupol. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy on Thursday reiterated that Russia's offensive isn't coming to an end.
Currently, Russian shelling and the assault on Azovstal does not stop, but civilians still need to be taken out. Women, children. Many children remain there. Just imagine this hell. There are children there. More than 2 months of constant shelling, bombing, constant death nearby.
Zelenskyy said on Thursday that civilians were on their way to safe territory with the assistance of the United Nations and the International Committee of the Red Cross. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres told the UN Security Council on the same day that a third operation is underway to help evacuate civilians from Mariupol. The chief added that nearly 500 civilians have been evacuated so far. Ukrainian officials have said that more evacuation plans are scheduled for Friday. President Zelenskyy also raised concerns over Russia's destruction of hospitals and medical infrastructure. He said that Russian troops have destroyed nearly 400 healthcare institutions, including hospitals and outpatient clinics, leaving doctors and nurses without the resources they need to treat patients or perform surgeries.
Even the simplest medications are missing. Russia has brought such problems to Ukraine and Europe that we could not have imagined a few months ago.
In a call on Thursday with President Zelenskyy, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson discussed the possibility of supplying longer-range weaponry to Ukraine. The two leaders discussed developments on the battlefield as well as the needs of Ukraine's armed forces. Meanwhile, according to the Kremlin, Russian President Vladimir Putin and Israeli Prime Minister Naftali Bennett held a phone call Thursday to exchange their views on the situation in Ukraine. Putin explained that Ukraine should order the troops defending the steel plant to lay down their arms. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
The European Union made revisions to its planned ban on Russian oil. According to Reuters, the tweaked measures involve giving countries that are highly reliant on Russian supplies more time to adjust to the embargo. This will give Hungary and Slovakia an extra year to buy oil from Moscow. The Czech Republic would be able to do the same until June 2024. The revisions come following Wednesday's announcement of a sixth package of sanctions. Under the original plan, majority of EU nations would have to stop making purchases of crude oil from Russia within 6 months and refined oil products by the end of this year, once the embargo is adopted. The prolonged war in Ukraine is causing a butterfly effect and straining the global economy. Here in South Korea, consumers are feeling the impact in the form of soaring food prices. Shin Yeon explains how this conflict would serve as a wake-up call for trade-dependent countries.
Visits to supermarkets here in South Korea are becoming more and more expensive. Because of the war in Ukraine, wheat import prices have seen an all-time high in 13 years. Though Ukraine isn't the biggest wheat supplier to Korea, it still has a great impact on the market as one of the world's greatest wheat producers. That's why wheat-based products like bread and noodles have seen prices soar. Korean shoppers say they're feeling the impact of these higher prices.
지금은 정말 배로 올랐어요. 너무 많이 올라가지고 그러니까 사더라도 그냥 놓게 돼요. 물가가 너무 많이 올라서.
나는 차로 출퇴근을 하는데 기름값이 너무 많이 오른 거예요. 그래서 어차피 공급자들은 월급은 정해져 있는데 이제 지출하는 금액은 점점 너무 커져서 좀 아쉬운 면이 좀 있고.
Even though South Korea doesn't heavily rely on Ukraine for its wheat imports or Russia for its gasoline, its economy still wavers when these giant suppliers are cut off from the global market. Because it has to share a smaller pie with other countries. This is a butterfly effect. In other words, global events affect Korea as it has one of the highest trade dependency rates in the world. As of 2020, trade made up 69% of Korea's whole GDP. South Korea's food security is at high risk during times of geopolitical uncertainty, as the country has the lowest food self-sufficiency rate among all OECD countries. South Korea only produces a little over 45% of its own food and only 20% of its own grain. This figure is much lower than countries like Canada and the U.S., each with self-sufficiency rates for grain surpassing 100%. A rural economics expert said South Korea needs to solve this matter quickly.
There may be a day when there aren't any grains available for import due to worsening climate change. In the future, we might be fighting for food. South Korea needs to be prepared.
That's why the National Institute of Crop Science is trying its best to increase the country's grain self-sufficiency.
South Korea is losing more control over its food security since more people are eating wheat-based products instead of just rice. While the average Korean eats 33 kilograms of wheat every year, the country's wheat self-sufficiency rate is under 1%.
By 2030, South Korea aims to raise its wheat self-sufficiency rate from 1% to 10%. To do this, the National Institute of Crop Science formed a wheat research team in 2018, specializing in finding ways to distribute homegrown wheat across the country.
Our priority is quality over quantity. We want companies and consumers to look for Korean wheat, even though it may be pricier because it has a premium value. So we're inventing technology that can make our homegrown wheat more nutritious and not cause any allergies. We're also developing speed breeding technology so it takes a shorter amount of time to actually produce it.
As a trade-dependent country, South Korea and its citizens feel the impact of what happens elsewhere in the world. But South Korea is still trying to boost its self-sufficiency, whether it's by producing its own wheat or implementing more policies. There's still some hurdles left for the country to consider, though, like who will be growing the wheat given Korea's aging population. Shin Yeon, Arirang News, Jeollabuk-do Province.
On Thursday, South Korea celebrated the 100th annual Children's Day with all kinds of events. Going into the weekend, the Seoul metropolitan government is holding a special book program for children at Seoul Plaza in front of City Hall. There will be readings from Aesop's fables and puppet shows based on traditional Korean folk tales, as well as live music and magic shows. The program runs through Saturday. More info is available on the Seoul Metropolitan Library's official website. Travelers are returning in droves to Jeju, but more visitors mean more trash to clean up and sort for recycling in the southern resort island. Kim Hyun-sung sheds light on this issue.
With masks off and group tours back on, more tourists are expected to flock to Jeju Island to enjoy this crisp beach breeze and this glistening blue sea. But while they'll be taking away treasured memories, they'll also be leaving behind heaps of trash.
Jeju Island's local government estimates that more than 40% of daily waste is made up of trash discarded by tourists. Their research shows that there were more than 1,150 tons of trash a day in March last year. The amount of trash has increased by more than 15 tons per day compared to the year before. This makes sense considering the number of tourists also spiked that season with a steep 85.8% on-year increase.
When COVID-19 first broke out and there was a steep decline in the number of tourists, we saw less daily trash. Also, it's true that trash thrown away by tourists is not sorted and recycled properly.
The burden caused by this waste may increase, with Jeju Island expecting another wave of tourists this year. Naver, a popular search tool in South Korea, saw Jeju Island-related search terms like Jeju Island plane tickets, Jeju tours, and Jeju hotels climb in recent months, hinting at growing interest in Jeju tourism. Jeju-related Google searches also showed a spike over the past year.
If visitors properly sort their trash when they come, it would help a lot. If we burn less trash, there will be less carbon. On Jeju Island, there are two places where you can sort your trash, at a so-called clean house and at recycling help centres.
Clean houses are ordinary recycling bins for pedestrians, and there are about 1,500 of them sprawled across the island. But instead of these bins, Jeju Island is working on increasing the number of recycling help centers, where visitors can easily sort trash with the assistance of one of the center's helpers.
If the visitors bring in trash like a plastic bottle, I weigh the trash and help them sort it in the right bins. If there's nobody here, people just throw away trash any way they like.
These centers are located close to popular tourist spots. So when tourists visit the island, they can look for one and leave their trail as crisp and clean as they found it. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News, Jeju Island.
This weekend looks mostly cloudy with a few passing showers for the morning hours. Parts of central regions, including this Seoul metropolitan area and Gangwon-do province, will see about 5 millimeters of rainfall. On Sunday, readings will start to cool down as a surge of cool air will settle in after the rain. Maximum temperatures will drop to near the seasonal norms at 21 degrees Celsius. In the meantime, dry conditions will persist across the East Coast. Dry weather advisories will stay in place for eastern Gangwon-do and Gyeongsangbuk-do provinces. Gusty winds are also in the forecast, which elevates the risk of wildfires. For those in the area, please be careful with anything that can start a fire. Partly cloudy to overcast skies are expected for the morning hours. Seoul and Chuncheon will start off at 15 degrees Celsius. As for the daily highs, Seoul and Daejeon will get up to 24 degrees. Daegu and Gyeonggi will make it to 26 degrees Celsius. Early summer-like conditions will make a return next week with highs near 25 degrees Celsius. That's all for now, and here are the weather conditions around the world.
And that's all from us. As always, thank you for watching.
전통과 새로움이 만나 더 큰 가치를 만들어갑니다. 그 가치들은 변화를 만들어내고